business. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
A very good evening and a warm welcome. I'd like to welcome you to our second edition of UBC News tonight on this first day of July 2022. I'm Lauryn Masika Kazimoto. And now we delve into tonight's news bulletin. We start off with our first headlining story this evening. Uganda's private sector eye DR Congo market as it pushes for chip financing through the Parish development model, being an earth shaker and an agricultural production shoot-up. Now, this was revealed during the second biannual Presidential Chief Executive Officers Forum, which President Yoweri Museveni hosted at his country home in Irenga, Tungamu district. The meeting was held under the theme Positioning the Private Sector for New Markets and Business Opportunities for Sustainable and Thriving Economies in the region and the African continent. Take a look.
President Yoweri Museveni has assured the private sector that the new campaign to rejuvenate the grassroots into modern agro-production will see higher returns that must be exploited by the private sector through value addition for export.
Select enterprises which you can do on a small area but get good income. The Kakutomera, not just bump into things. So therefore, when you hear this campaign, which we are involved in, it is doing two things. First of all, three things actually. Number one, converting the bystanders into participants. Everybody must participate. Secondly, do so with the chibaro, with the calculation. Do so with the calculation to ensure that the homesteads get maximum return. And thirdly, of course, increase production for the country.
The campaign, which is on now, the Parish development model, is aimed at bringing the 68% of Ugandans who are bystanders in development to get involved in economic transformation. The President said that those with small acreages of land will select enterprises that have big returns like coffee, fruits, poultry and piggery, among others. With intensive agriculture, people can use their small land to get out of poverty.
From the beginning, we were very clear. That's why we encouraged the local people, like the father of Barbara, Ruana. But we also brought back our Indians, the ones who had been chased by Idi Amin. They came back.
The President, who was accompanied by his wife, who is also the Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni, said the aim is to convert Ugandans who are bystanders in the economic transformation struggle into participants. President Museveni said the private sector is the easiest way to develop the economy because companies do the work of government cheaply. Among other things, the President pledged to promote the protection of local products from Chinese and Indian subsidized products, provision of cheaper power for production, cheap financing for the private sector to borrow, and support to the Kasita.
Number one, you have shown the progress we have done, how you have come up. The middle class has come up. You have got local products. And the first point of intervention I want to be involved in is taxing imports. I totally agree. If you have got import products here, locally made, we should tax the ones from China and from India.
The President and the CEOs discussed in depth the issue of exploiting the vast trade potential with DR Congo, including provision of an export credit guarantee, expanding power to the DR Congo, funding the Uganda air cargo, construction of toll roads into the DR Congo, and empowering the national broadcaster UBC to broadcast across the border. They also discussed the issue of appointment of a commercial attaché who can speak various languages to Uganda's foreign missions, lifting the ban on Facebook to allow online business, since URA has now put in place mechanisms to tax online businesses and provision of cheap power for production. Prime Minister Honorable Nabanja Robina briefed the President on the countrywide awareness about the PDM and said people are generally excited and anxious to finally undertake in enterprises that will put money in their pockets.
I wanted to give this highlight in the presence of CEOs because when we fight poverty, and when our people become productive, then we shall have a challenge of marketing. Excellency, we are going to be very productive this time around in the country. And therefore, our brothers and sisters who are here need to prepare accordingly.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Masika Kazimoto, informed the CEOs the government is financing local actors through Uganda Development Bank and therefore they should visit there when need arise. He urged them to work together to resolve any technicality appropriately.
Private sector, let's work together. Wherever you have a complaint, wherever you have, I have been speaking to my daughter, Mulwana, often enough. Every time she has a challenge, I tell her, come, and we talk. All right.
Ms. Barbara Mulwana, the chairperson of Presidential CEO Forum, on behalf of the CEO, said that the Presidential CEO Forum mission is to promote, enhance and popularize the private sector involvement, providing a platform that advocates for appropriate legislation, practices and policies that eliminate bottlenecks to economic development.
Your Excellency, our themes here today is positioning the private sector for new markets and business opportunities, for sustainability and thriving economies in the region and the Africa continent. This is a very urgent and a very big call to action.
Mr. Emmanuel Katongole, the Vice Chairman of the Presidential CEO Forum, assured the President of their solid support towards the economic development of the country and added his great leadership has enabled Uganda to move to a middle-income country.
This shared vision is something that positions the private sector for new markets. And because of this great leadership that you're giving, it's no wonder, and very truly we're experiencing it, that we're moving into a middle-class country.
President Museveni launched the Presidential CEO Forum in 2020, noting that the forum will help government to identify bottlenecks to business and economic growth in the country. The meeting was attended by the Prime Minister Nabanja Robina, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development Masika Kazimoto, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Honorable Mwebesa Francis, Keith Makanizi, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Geraldine Sali, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Presidential CEO Forum Kampala, board members and Secretariat including Ms. Barbara Mulwana, the Chairperson, Mr. Emmanuel Katongole, the Vice Chairman, Dr. Ramadhan Ngowi, Permanent Secretary for Finance, Dr. Ruth Bianzika of Private Sector Foundation Uganda, among others. Sandra Kahunde, UBC News.
Uganda National Teachers Union UNATU this Friday convened a meeting to decide whether they're ready to call off their industrial action following a letter written to them by President Museveni. Now the meeting was held at UNATU offices in Kampala.
To Uganda National Teachers Union, UNATU, informing them that government does not have money for their salary enhancement, asking them to call off their industrial action and report back to school. Friday, members of Uganda National Teachers Union convened a meeting, calling all leaders for a meeting on Sunday to discuss a way forward.
Now, where we have reached as management, we are going to invite the union leaders because the union has structures of leadership.
Talking to UBC TV, the Secretary, Uganda National Teachers Union, Philbert Baguma, said there is need for leaders to have a unanimous conclusion.
So we have invited the National Executive Council, we have invited the branch chairpersons from all districts, municipalities, and cities in this country to come here. We shall communicate to them what we have received, and they will take a decision.
Baguma confirmed receiving the letter from President Museveni. He, however, asked teachers not to step in class until they reach a conclusion.
30th June, we received letters from Ministry of Public Service communicating the government's position over the industrial action. The position is not different from what they have been communicating. They have been indicating that government does not have money.
Sudat Kaye, Joseph Muyingo, UBC News.
Security Minister Major General Jim Muhwezi has refuted claims by a section of media platforms peddling rumors of tension within security players, especially the UPDF. In an interview with UBC from his country home in Rukunjiri district, Minister Muhwezi assures the country that there is no need for alarm.
Last Sunday, upon returning from the 2022 Chagam meeting in Rwanda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, also the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, convened a security meeting for top army bosses at his country home in Rwakitara. This, according to a section of media speculations, was as a result of the earlier directive by the Deputy CDF General Peter Ereru putting the army to a standby mode. Since then, the discussions about the country's security have remained a matter of concoction and narrative.
The media is full of anybody now is a journalist. It's not only you. Anybody who has access to the media writes. And some people believe that what has been written is newsworthy. But some of them, they are not worth the ink.
According to Security Minister retired Major General Jim Muhwezi, Uganda is safe and secure regardless of the current social media lies.
The security situation in the country is good. Don't go by Holocaust, by the media.
He was addressing us shortly after the end of his Parish Development Model Mobilization campaign in his home district of Rukungiri, which has lasted for 2 weeks.
It was a very successful tour. We talked about the parish development model, and we also received reports of their needs, of their concerns, which I explained, and others I took note of, which I'm going to handle with the other government ministries and departments when I get back to Kampala.
Jim is hopeful that once Ugandans heed to their call, in the due course, results will be witnessed.
But I also briefed them about some positive achievements we have made so far in health, in the education, in roads, and so on. So it was a very positive interaction. And we are going both to benefit myself as their leader and them as my electorate.
Ever since the takeover of power by General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in 1986, almost 95% of Uganda has been entirely peaceful, and this has facilitated the country's development, which has now seen it jump to the middle income status countries. Robert Nyango, UBC News.
Local leaders in the Acholi district of Amuru in northern Uganda have put aside political differences to embrace government programs in the district. Kilak South Member of Parliament Gilbert Olanya says over-politicking at the economic suffering of the masses is a disservice to the community. During the Parish Development Model Sensitization Engagement, Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Onek, challenged locals to choose enterprises carefully for better economic results.
It is a district with 1 county, 9 sub-counties, 4 town councils, 50 parishes, and 202 villages. These administrative units come with political diversity, as area leadership is predominantly opposition FDC leaning. However, leaders have put aside their political affiliations to embrace the parish development model.
I appreciate that this program is not coming during campaign. We always get the pinch of implementing government program during campaign.
This is one of the reasons why, despite always speaking in dissenting voices with government, leaders at local and national levels are welcoming the initiative.
It has been designed by Parliament. It has been designed purposely to help our people who are in the villages. On this, we are mobilizing our people, irrespective of the party where one comes from.
Parish development model is going to empower women.
When it is properly implemented, it's going to help our people right from the village. And also, the money we are using is the taxpayers' money. And the taxpayers' money, all of us are supposed to benefit from this particular money.
It was in this multi-million Uganda shilling multi-purpose district hall that the endorsement for the new parish model was made. Thompson Obong, the Amuru Chief Administrative Officer, shared the strides that the district has made so far.
Honorable Minister, we also did identification and formation of enterprise groups, which was also successfully done, of course, with the help of the parish chiefs that were recruited in coordination with our district PDM focal person.
Both challenges and successes were shared in the presence of the Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Onek.
Some of the parishes that we have are quite wide, and the traversing them becomes hard if there's no means of transport.
This one is targeting patients, targeting the patients right at the grassroots. The money is brought direct to you in the grassroots, and that money should multiply and build up your parish.
Onek, who led the orientation and sensitization of Amuru leaders on the PDM, challenged them on better enterprise selection for improved economic proceeds.
For example, if a farmer here, I know they cultivate mainly rice, and the land is so good here, you could go into Matoke plantation and you surpass Kampala. You'll plant more than Kampala. You'll get much better. You can choose anything. Coffee here can do even much better.
The parish development model was launched in February 2022 as a new strategy to bring 39% of poverty-stricken Ugandans into the money economy. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Now, a section of political leaders in Teso sub-region have vowed to support government in implementation of the parish development model project by exposing officials found mismanaging it. Members of Parliament for Chero County, Julius Emigu, together with his counterparts, believe that this is the only measure that should be undertaken to make the project a success.
Local leaders from Teso sub-region have closed their campaign of rolling out the parish development model project with a call for action from different opinion leaders that will see the project successful. Member of Parliament for Chero County, Julius Emigu, expressed his readiness to play his oversight role in monitoring the project, especially by exposing the wrong implementers.
Strictly, that's what I think I should do, and that's the reason for which I've even come. I will be working together with my minister and really move, because we want to do that. One of our cardinal roles as members of Parliament is oversight, to see to it that all these officials that are going to be directly involved, although for us we shall have our eyes on, hands off, but we shall be able to see to it that, okay, any other complaint that will come, we shall be able really to handle to help our people, because we are also informed about who is supposed to be the beneficiary and how somebody is supposed to even get it.
The Member of Parliament for Kabiramaido County, Alfred Edakas, committed to track data of the beneficiaries to see the right people benefiting from the project.
Like any program, when it is starting, it has challenges. So the preliminary challenges are some parts of the model are going faster than others. For instance, when we talk about the collection of data, that should have been probably the first. But as you see that in some parishes, there is already circles and probably data has not been collected. And the data should inform us about the 39%.
Religious leaders and other stakeholders were also called upon to join the struggle of eradicating poverty in the region by changing the mindset of the intended beneficiaries.
As you know, religious leaders meet with people almost every day, every Sunday, at funerals, in marriages, baptisms, all sorts of functions. And once you bring them on board, then you can be sure that that message will be relayed to people on a daily basis, and that can have an impact, especially on the aspect of mindset change.
The religious leaders expressed their readiness to monitor the project, but they are concerned about having been sidelined in the previous programs.
Sometimes some programs comes and bypasses the church, and the church will remain behind now, not knowing what is going on. But with this, we see it's a normal idea. It's very bright for us to come in and be part of it.
In the financial year 2022-2023, every parish is expected to receive 100 million shillings for the implementation of the Parish Development Model Project. Joseph Oko, UBC.
Thank you, Joseph Oko. Now, the Chancellor of Chambogo University, Professor John Okedi, has installed Professor Eli Katunguka as the Vice Chancellor of Chambogo University to serve the second term in the same capacity. Dr. Jane Egau, Director, Higher Education at the Ministry of Education, has represented the Minister, Janet Kataha Museveni, and urged the university management to commercialize their innovations.
Chambogo University Council has presented Professor Eli Katunguka to the Chancellor of the University, Professor John Okedi, for installation. This follows the Council's unanimous vote to give Katunguka second chance as the Varsity Vice Chancellor.
Chancellor, sir, I present to you Professor Eli Katunguka Rakishaya to be installed as a Vice Chancellor of Chambogo University.
By virtue of the authority entrusted to me, I install you, Professor Eli Katunguka Rakishaya, as the third Vice Chancellor of Chambogo University.
After performing the ceremonial installation, Professor John Okedi, the University Chancellor, tasked Katunguka to utilize his research expertise to push higher the university bar at national, regional and international levels.
I have been involved in Chambogo for a long time. I'm not satisfied that we have made strides and successes in the area of research and innovation. A university will not stand as a university simply because of teaching. Like the professor said, then you become a glorified higher school. This we must avoid by refocusing our attention to the area of research and innovation.
The Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, was represented by the Director, Higher Education, Dr. Jane Egau, who challenged the university management to commercialize their innovations in order to diversify their earnings.
We want to encourage commercialization of these innovations so that they are useful to the communities that we serve.
In his inaugural speech, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Eli Katunguka, highlighted determinations in his new journey.
I will faithfully undertake my duties as the third Vice Chancellor of Chambogo University, so help me God. I've committed ourselves to enhancing resource mobilization. We want to be able to mobilize money from the assets and other opportunities we have for the university.
Professor Katunguka has appealed to government to increase on the university funding for targets to be accomplished. Lydia Chomkama, UBC News.
Professor Eli Katunguka, the Vice-Chancellor of Chambogo University, has laid out prospects for his second term in office. He has pointed out some of the accomplishments the university has realized while serving his first term. Take a look.
Professor Eli Katunguka has been in charge of Chambogo University as Vice-Chancellor for the last 7 years. During an interview with UBC TV, the professor narrated his way to the position of Vice-Chancellor of Chambogo University.
So 2014 I come here as a Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic Affairs. It also happened there was no Vice-Chancellor because Ndiege had been forced out of office, or his term had also expired. So the position of Vice-Chancellor was also vacant. So the Minister of Education then, Honorable Lupo, convened a meeting and said that position cannot remain vacant. So I was appointed acting Vice-Chancellor at the same time.
At the time of his appointment, the Vice-Chancellor recounts how Chambogo University lacked good policies to match academic dynamism.
One, people could get promoted depending on whether the Vice-Chancellor was your friend or not. But we developed policies on how people are recruited, how they are retained in the university, and how they are dismissed from the university.
Improving students and staff welfare was his main goal, and it has registered reasonable enrollment and success.
And members of staff have understood this, and that has created a lot of peace. We introduced an insurance scheme. Chambogo University is the only university with a comprehensive insurance scheme, which covers 4 members, I think 2 members of the family, hopefully a man and a wife, and then 4 of the other children.
The competitive research scheme introduced during his reign has given the university a new face in the East African academic space. This is evidenced by the increasing experts produced by this hill of technocrats.
So we must start doing research. There was no capacity to do research. So we started on an ambitious program to build research capacity, which I think we have done. And then having built their capacity, we had to look for money for them to do research. So I introduced a competitive research scheme, a competitive research grant scheme. That's where members of staff write grants and they compete for the money.
Elimination of strikes and sophisticated conflict resolution enabled Professor Katunguka move through ups and downs of managing university dons.
Before I came here, strikes were the order of the day, both by staff, both teaching and non-teaching, and then students. And I think since I came, we have engaged all these groups of people to make sure that teaching and learning is not disrupted. And that has endeared the university to many people outside. In addition, we have resisted the temptation to hike tuition fees. Our tuition fees remain fairly low.
In his reign, the university has improved on infrastructure by erecting new buildings to facilitate learning.
A lot on infrastructure. If you see around, there's a lot of improvement on infrastructure. We used to have shortage of space for lectures where students could sit, shortage of chairs. But if you look around now, we have new structures, spacious ones, thanks to the government through the ADB project.
In his new term of office, Professor Katunguka is optimistic to leverage on ICT to match other academic institutions.
Every institution must have adequate ICT infrastructure, especially to improve our e-learning. We have learning centers we have created, one in Soroti and one in Ushenyi. We want to develop capacity where we can teach these students simultaneously. The lecturer sits here in Chambogo and teaches students in Soroti and students in Ushenyi who are taking the same program. That will cut down the cost of moving people up and down.
Katunguka believes public universities working in isolation retards the speed of academic transformation by creating unnecessary competition.
When I came in 2014, there was a group that did not want somebody from Makerere. They felt Chambogo, Makerere should stay there. There is this institutional competition, which I have tried to discourage. I would want institutions to collaborate rather than compete.
Professor Eli Katunguka is the third Vice-Chancellor of Kyambogo University since 2001, when the institute was elevated to the university status. Abdul Nasir Luwama for UBC.
Now, Court of Appeal has ordered for a retrial in the Kampala Central mayoral race election petition, which was filed by Semugoma Hamad Chigozi, challenging Salim Uhuru's victory for the Kampala Central mayoral seat. Semugoma dragged NRM's Salim Saad Uhuru to court, citing voter bribery, ballot stuffing and erroneous nomination. Take a look.
High Court Judge Isaac Muwata dismissed Nopo's Amdan Semugoma Chigozi's petition against NRM Salim Uhuru's victory for the Kampala Central mayoral seat. Judge Isaac Muwata dismissed the petition on grounds that Amdan Semugoma lacked evidence to support his petition. Semugoma filed an appeal before the panel of justices of Court of Appeal, Cheborion Barishaki, Egona Ntenda and Eva Ruswata. The three justices, after perusing both submissions, Friday morning ordered for retrial on this matter.
An order is made that the matter be remitted back to High Court for retrial on all issues except the issue of nomination, which has been resolved. The courts of this appeal and in the court below shall abide the outcome of the retrial.
The appellant Nopus Amdan Semugoma Chigozi was pleased with the justice's judgment, citing that Uhuru bribed voters and ballot stuffed votes, which led to his victory for Kampala Central mayoral seat.
The case has been sent for retrial. We have confidence and we are very sure, depending on our grounds. There is a ground for bribery, which is very standing. We have a ground for ballot stuffing, polling stations, voters, people who voted exceeded the number in the voters register. So we think we have firm grounds to win this case.
In the 2021 general elections, Nopo's Semugoma Amdan Chigozi garnered 10,654 votes against NRM's Salim Uhuru, who got 13,144 votes. Meanwhile, the same court has also ordered for retrial in a petition filed by Samsoni Lokolis, the former member of parliament for Dodoti East County constituency in Kabong district, challenging Emmanuel Komolo's victory. The panel of justices of Court of Appeal, made by Egona Ntende, Muzamiru Chibedi and Monica Mugenyi, gave the judgment, which was read by the registrar of this court, Lilian Buchana. The justices quashed Soroti High Court decision, which had upheld Emmanuel Komolo's victory for the Dodoti East County constituency seat in Kabong district. Samuel Lokolis, who stood for the Dodoti East County constituency, obtained 7,892 votes, while Komolo Emmanuel 7,903 votes, making a margin of 11 votes. Samuel Lokolis petitioned the Soroti High Court, seeking to set aside Komolo Emmanuel's victory, alleging that the election did not follow the electoral laws and principles. Judge Anibita Atule Mugenyi presided over the case at Soroti High Court. Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
With the aim of Pepperdine University, Pepperdine University has pledged its support in handling cases through plea bargain procedure. Now, the move is aimed at addressing the prolonged challenge of case backlog and dispensing justice to Ugandans. Now, this comes after over 200 civil and criminal cases were handled and completed in Gulu High Court through plea bargain procedure with support from Pepperdine University. The pledge was made by Professor Danny DeWalt, the Executive Director and Vice President, Pepperdine University, during a leadership training organized by the Judiciary at Kampala's Sheraton Hotel. The training was attended by different judicial officers and it was graced by Chief Justice of Uganda, Alfonso Winyi Dolo. Dolo pointed out some of the key issues regarding leadership skills, including, among others, being humble and a good listener. The training was also attended by the Principal Judge, Dr. Flavian Nzeja, the Director, Public Prosecutions, and students from Pepperdine University.
And so when you talk about early disposition of a case, we are now talking to accused persons within a week of the time they've been arrested.
And I think the Chief Justice and the judicial leadership have gone to all courts in Uganda. But as you know, being a new initiative, there is need for continuous sensitization and educating masses and inmates about it, but also the criminal justice actors to be able to do it in a manner that envisions delivery of justice.
But a leader must first be persuaded. You must have conviction. You must have a purpose in your leadership. But however beautiful in your mind, listen to the other people. Listen to the opposition, what we call here opposition. Listen. The fact that you've read to the level of a professor does not make you different from the other people.
Many times when people compete, they turn that competition into enmity. So whenever you have an opportunity to compete and you lose gracefully. If you have an opportunity to compete and you win gracefully and be generous to the person who has lost.
The lesson from this is you don't lose anything by consulting, by trying to find out the right way of doing the thing. And one of the things about leadership is you could keep quiet about what your weakness is or what you may not know. You don't have to know everything when you're a leader. In fact, you will never know everything. But you have to find a way of finding out from people who know. There are always people who know better than you. And sometimes they are much, much lower than you. You must have the humility.
Uganda Communications Commission, UCC, is to hold annual cybersecurity competitions aimed at providing virtual space for students to learn more about cybersecurity and develop skills in different domains. Director, Rural Communication Development Fund at UCC, Mr. Nyombi Tembo, says this is going to help the ICC community face emerging security challenges. Shaidat Nasaku with more.
Over 250 students from 30 universities have enrolled for the cybersecurity training, from which they'll compete, and 8 of them will be chosen to undergo UCC training in cybersecurity. The successful students will join the rest of the world to help Uganda face the challenges of technology, since it's attached to almost everything in everyday life.
Knowledge, passion, the level at which somebody is, the leadership, all those different aspects of the individual will be looked at. We have a process through which we are going to pass. This process will end up where we shall have selected about 8 who will be trained in depth. But of course, as we go along, we shall train trainers of trainers. We will bring influence.
Due to high demand in the cybersecurity space, the trainees will have advantages of acquiring jobs and also being job creators, among others.
So they can use different avenues to explore more. So really this is just a drop in the ocean, but hopefully one of the big drops that will push them further, both those who win and those who will not win. So certification is one of it's a very critical aspect when it comes to cybersecurity, because it's what tells, gives confidence to those people who may want to give you a job or to engage you, to know that actually you have a certain skill from which they can develop you further.
There's already a requirement for these resources in the market, and not just for financial institutions, but for other institutions, that's government and non-profits. They all require information security managers. So enough demand actually absorb the supply.
Thembo says more than 15 billion is lost every year on cybersecurity, and the trainees shall not only be aware of the dangers that come along with cybersecurity, but also handle them.
Companies lose a lot, colossal sums of resources, time into these compromise in the cyber security.
This is going to develop their skills in different domains, such as vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, digital forensics, and computer network defense. Shaidat Nasaku, UBC News.
Presidential Advisor on Political Affairs, Senyoga Jane, has applauded Mityana Municipality technical team for proper implementation of government projects conducted in financial year 2021-2022. This was during a monitoring and assessment of covered programs by Mityana Municipality in the financial year 2021-2022. We have a detailed story.
A total of 1,393,000,000 Ugandan shillings was channeled from the 10 billion budget passed by Mityana Municipality for financial year 2021-22 to cater for developmental initiatives in the municipality.
Billion shillings. It involved renovation of the health workers' accommodation. We had a budget for constructing 2 classroom blocks, then renovation of a dilapidated building which had been really swept down by the hurricane winds, and we had that emergency budget which was given to us courtesy of the Ministry of Education.
The monitoring was extended to government schools, where a number of them were renovated and new ones constructed, and revamping of health centres. There were also a number of roads that were constructed in the municipality. This exercise came at a time when teachers under Uganda National Teachers Union UNATU are on an industrial action prompted by salary discrepancies between arts and science teachers.
Yes.
Senyonga also applauded both technical and political leadership of Mityana Municipality for joint efforts when it comes to service delivery.
Town clerk Mukose omulimu gwakoze mulungi nnyo kubanga apakidde abantu mu bus bakansalaza abalondebwa abantu n'ateekamu n'abakulembeza abalala bonna ab'ebitongole ne bajja balabe emirimu gyabwe gye bateekeddwa okukola. N'olwekyo bakansalazi totuula abanga gwe nannyini kitundu oba oliwo ennaama gerayo ekiseera ojja okola ki ojja olambule eddwaliro lyo oba essomero lyo. N'abakulu b'amasomero mwenna mbakubiriza mikwano gyange, abaana ba Uganda tebalina musango. Ebiteesebwa byonna bigenda mu maaso n'omukulembeze w'eggwanga ow'okuntikko atwala buli muntu yenna.
Talking to UBC TV, some of the councillors expressed satisfaction at the achievements registered in the financial year 2021-2022.
Nga tulambula emirimu egyo gyonna egikolebwa mu kitundu ng'abakulembeze. Era tukakasiza nti emirimu gikoleddwa bulungi kubanga n'accountability zonna tubadde nazo nga tukebera kimu ku kimu.
Kateekera bakansalazi bonna tekibangawo tufundikira omwaka n'asalawo tulambule projects zonna zonna ezikolezebwa omwaka guno ogwa 2 financial year eno 2021-2022. Tulambudde municipality yonna amasomero, enguudo, amalwaliro byonna ebibadde ebikozesebwa.
Mulago School for the Deaf and the deaf community have asked government to enhance digital technology advancement among their communities. This was at the National Dear Day commemoration under the theme Imagine Reading as a Way of Life, organized at Mulago School for the Deaf.
Uganda Friday joined the rest of the world to mark a Drop Everything and Read It Day, abbreviated as the DEAR Day. This year's 8th National DEAR Day commemorations, held at Mulago School for the Deaf, was spearheaded by KCCA in partnership with the American Embassy in Uganda and the Rotary Club 9213 to shine a light on the relevance of instilling a reading culture among the deaf.
Reading, reading. You people cannot live without reading.
Moments of joy and happiness characterized the day's events as vulnerable children made presentations through music, dance and drama, portraying reading of books and newspapers. According to recent research, there are over 1.8 million Ugandans with hearing impairment, with majority of them illiterate.
Out there in the villages have not come to school. We are over 1.8 million deaf persons in Uganda, but many have not attained education because of the challenges attached in one or another. So the education becoming a very big barrier.
The head teacher Mlago School of the Deaf, Pius Okecho, says there has been a timely and drastic increase in awareness levels about the deaf, albeit with some challenges faced.
The awareness, most parents of with children with disabilities cannot access education for their children because of poverty. Many parents still have negative attitude towards educating their deaf children. They experience huge electricity bills because our children communicate using their eyes.
The Executive Director, KCC Edroth Chisaka, however, said the government intends to set up learning centers in different parishes.
Parish should be aware of its people who have different abilities. Each parish should be aware of the people who have different weaknesses. Should wake up to the need to care for everybody in our community in a sensible way. And we as KCCA, we are saying because of the parish development model, we are going to establish a learning center in every parish in Kampala.
The day was graced by the presence of the American ambassador to Uganda, Natalie E. Brown, who said it is a fundamental and basic desire by every child to read and write.
Everyone to make reading a part of their everyday life. Education is key to achieving one's full potential, and it is promoting an environment where all members of society are treated with respect and have equitable opportunity and access to education, employment, and government services, to basic education activities. And of course, our partner DeafLink Uganda has been engaged in a variety of interventions to promote access to education for deaf children and youth.
Recognize the abilities that all different kinds of people have. What we might call a disability is a different ability. And each of us has the capacity to make a contribution, to be connected in our country.
The day was characterized by reading and storytelling.
Barking. George went quack, quack.
Mwaivan Juko for UBC News.
Thank you for that, Ivan Juko. Now, the Superior General of the Daughters of St. Paul, Sister Anne Kaiyaza, has cautioned the public against abuse of social media as a tool of social communication. The message was contained in a letter read by the Delegate Superior for East Africa, Sister Rosemary Mweni, on the occasion to celebrate the feast of St. Paul the Apostle. On the same occasion, 13 novices made their first profession among the Daughters of St. Paul. Take a look.
Christians gathered to celebrate the Feast of St. Paul and witness the first profession of novices, joining service among the Daughters of St. Paul. The Daughters of St. Paul are an international congregation evangelizing using means of social communications.
To the constitutions of the Daughters of St. Paul, I am
13 novices made their first profession. 1 Ugandan, 8 Congolese, 2 Angolans, 1 Mozambican and 1 Kenyan. In a letter from the Superior General, Sister Anna Kaiyaza, read by Sister Rosemary Mweni, the message was a power tool to the novices in their new undertaking to evangelize using means of social communication.
If we understood what our life in Christ means, we would always be happy, full of enthusiasm, full of courage, full of joy. Be full of joy, for the Lord is your happiness.
The local superior, Sister Bernadette Lutaya, appreciated the growing number of candidates to the Daughters of St. Paul, who will in turn influence the proper use of tools of social communication.
Congratulate Sister Marie Chantal, who has given us the chance to have a harvest In living this feast day with devotion and with many celebrations that accompany it, we thank St. Paul for the many graces that we receive from the Lord through his intercession in carrying out our mission diligently and passionately.
Meanwhile, the novice who took first religious profession, Sister Marie Chantal Musabimana, promised to uphold the constitution of her congregation.
Looking at this time, many people are on social media, and that's what also our founder considered for us to do this mission to evangelize through the means of social communication. He saw that many people are misusing the media, the means of social communication, and he said that the way it's being misused, we can also use it to evangelize.
Abiona Francisco, UBC News.
Now, UBC News Tonight takes a very short break, but we still have business and sports coming up. Don't move an inch.
Sanyuse nnyo essanyu lijula kunzita MTN momo terimba nalindi waka ngenda okuwulira essimu ezze nenga neera bino bya bulijjo ebyekifere kubanga mbeera awo omuntu n'ofuna essimu n'ogenda okuwulira oli atandise empaayo emitwalo 5 kakati kino MTN bwe yankubidde bo tebansabye ku ssente wedda banzikakkanya na bukkakkanya nze nga ntabuse ngamba mu buli baffere nandi wano pulesa zaagala kunkuba bukubu nsinneebaka kutulo ate temumpadde emmotoka mu byonoonyi kati ate awo wiiki ndala MTN yebale nnyo okutufaako fenga abeebulemeezi luweero balina waaka MTN.
Show them waka with MTN Momo Nyabo. Simply deposit 20K or more on your mobile money for a chance to win 3 Toyota Succeeds and money to 2,000 lucky winners every week. We're giving away 24 cars and over 2 billion shillings of mobile money.
Are you a player in the tourism sector with a struggling business following the COVID pandemic? UDB, in partnership with European Union, is providing financial assistance to businesses operating in the tourism sector. You can access subsidized loan with grants, loan with a tenor of up to 5 years, free business advisory services, and free environmental impact assessment. Visit www.udbl.co.ug/call for applications to apply. Deadline for submission is 31st October 2022 at 5 p.m. For more information, please call 0414 355 509.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149*10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149*10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149*10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The 12th Annual Africa Students Education Fair is back. Come meet representatives of universities, colleges, and schools from USA, Canada, UK, Poland, Ireland, Spain, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, and India on Friday the 1st and Saturday the 2nd of July at the Sheraton Hotel, Kampala, Uganda from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For further inquiries, please contact Maria on 0702-628-446 or email inquiries@asefevents.com or visit www.asefevents.com. Organized by Africa Students Education Fairs Limited and sponsored by Kessie Tours and Travel, WR Education Consultants, and Loyalist College Canada.
Packages, great entertainment,
sports, the local content, telenovela, the movies. There is something for everybody. Go TV, this is where our stories live.
Get the best entertainment for any budget. With GoTV, you will have great entertainment for as little as 13,000 Uganda shillings per month. GoTV, great stories, Zidiwano. GoTV Uganda, love it.
I remember the lockdown, when the streets were empty and our lives disrupted. When businesses closed, and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
Welcome back from that break. And now into the business scene. The Deputy Resident District Commissioner, Mbara District, Kanusu Robert, has urged Ugandans to be vigilant with the medicine they buy from drug shops and clinics following reports of sale of expired drugs by health workers. We have details in this report.
During the operation, a total of 281 outlets were inspected, which included 1 pharmacy, 260 human drug shops, 11 vet drug shops, and 9 clinics. A total of 239 drug outlets were issued with closure notices, from which 292 boxes of assorted drugs estimated at over 1 million Uganda shillings were impounded due to several non-compliance issues. 1 drug hawker was also arrested for illegal possession and sale of drugs. Good Life Medical Clinic in Kashenyi Go Down, Rukunjiri, owned by a one Moito Mollis, was found selling drugs and malaria test kits clearly marked Government of Uganda, not for sale. That is in the Ruhinda sub-county of Rukunjiri district. The drugs were impounded. A such certificate was left behind as the owner is on the run. That box is there, you have a look at it. NDA reminds all operators of drug outlets to keep their licenses up to date and to keep complying with set standards.
I wish to call on the National Drug Authority and the Enforcement Department to do a good job, because you can't tell me that you got about 100 worth counterfeit and mismanaged drugs and you fail to get the culprits. Police and your department, I know, are competent enough. Let there be no bribery in the exercises. Do the right job and have the culprits apprehended such that they serve as a lesson to the others. If you only get the drugs and display them to the media and us without getting the real people who are leading these rackets, then our struggle still will need more efforts. But the best thing you can do is get them, and then we shall ensure that we get express prostitution for them.
As Uganda Police Force, our partnership with National Drug Authority is purposely on aiding them on enforcement with personnel, but also after these culprits have been apprehended, our other job is for prosecution. But we also want to call on the public to be vigilant and be able to report these cases, like the head of security for the head of enforcement at National Drug Authority has told you, has given you contacts. If you see anything suspicious, and of course these drug shops can be easily identified, especially if you find a drug shop that runs only a box or 2, there should be something suspicious about it. So we request that you report, and of course as police will always be there.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial star 149 star 10 hash to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial star 149 star 10 star 5 hash. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial star 149 star 10 hash to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Are you a player in the tourism sector with a struggling business following the COVID pandemic? UDB, in partnership with European Union, is providing financial assistance to businesses operating in the tourism sector. You can access subsidized loan with grants, loan with a tenor of up to 5 years, free business advisory services, and free environmental impact assessment. Visit www.udbl.co.ug/call for applications to apply. Deadline for submission is 31st October 2022 at 5 p.m. For more information, please call 0414 355 509.
A good school doesn't tolerate violence against children.
Because a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
Bore chewaka na MTN Momo Nyabo. Echora kuri chonka.
Amazina ganje ni banyeta Kansime Clofas. Nimbela lugazika kwa Mbara. Ninye muhanguzi w'emotoka ya MTN Momo Nyabo waka. Elizawa nye nahangura motoka. Ninsima MTN munonga. Ninsima abantu bonna abezumbiro mu kintu ekyo kubasa kufisyaho ebirabo bya MTN. Mwebale munonga muhangare mubereho.
Oreche waka na MTN Momo Nyabo. Echora kuri chonka. Kawe mitware ebiri no kweyongerayo. Mobile money yawe. Obase kuba mw'abanyamugisha barayihangurire Toyota Succeed 3 na sente. Esiturabe ntwabahanguza barukike 12 buru wiki. Nituza kwaye motoka abiri nina. Na sente za mobile money eziri kurenga buhumbi bubiri.
Welcome back. And now into the world of sports. A contingent of Uganda football players is headed for Europe, where they will undergo trials at several clubs. This is part of the FestoWeb Sports Management Program and is National Resistance Movement Manifesto Initiative. Take a look.
Early this year, Uganda traveled several under-19 football players to Spain, where they played a couple of friendly games. That trip, organized by FestoWeb Sports Management Company, was not in vain.
So today I am privileged to report the results that came from that travel. We had so many scouts who had traveled from across the world to watch our boys display the talent that the country is privileged to be having. And of the successes that we realized that now are being prepared for the next level is the scouts identified quite a number of talent in our boys, and they have been packaged now to go for trials with various clubs.
Those identified for these trials include Eric Senjobe, Derek Emokule, Rashid Mukungu, Derek Onyai, Nicholas Kabonge, Alfred Onek, and Junior Ocholit. Others are Andrew Siagi, Ali Ramadan, Simon Baligea, Ivan Erinembabazi, Hakim Kiwanuka, Enoch Walusimbi, and Sadat Anaku.
This is a golden opportunity to me. So I embrace it by preparing myself well. Like under my effort, I've been working hard for such an opportunity. Thank God I've got it. And like I have to train hard to go, because we are the first group from FestoWeb to represent the country. So with the first group, the first members to go abroad, we have to work hard and achieve, get a team, so we can be like a stepping stone for our fellow colleagues coming up.
The players are destined for respective destinations in Spain, France, Portugal, and Scotland. They will be attached to Spanish lower division clubs like Atletico Benidorm, Lunacia, Oriahula and Velez, while in Portugal, trials will be at Boa Vista. In Scotland, players will head to Dundee United, while the Ugandans will also try out at French clubs like FC Lyon. John Barnes Sentamo reporting.
Well, UBC News Tonight has come to an end. We do thank you for your company this evening. And of course, make sure that you enjoy much more of UBC's programming. As for now, we sign out. My name is Lauryn Masika Kazimoto. I leave you with Semper Alex Kim with tomorrow's weather forecast. Good night.
Very warm welcome. Here is the latest in weather from the Weather Center with Semper Alex Kim. We've been dealing with sunny intervals across most parts of the country the most of the day, though a few areas also had some light isolated rainfall, especially in the evening hours. Now we've been dealing with reduced rainfall because of a high that was over the tip of South Africa, but right now it is shifting away, and because of that we do expect a pickup of wet weather activities, especially in the eastern and northern of the country. Tomorrow morning, you do expect some rainfall activities, especially in the northern as well as the eastern, but well into the afternoon, you do expect sunny intervals to dominate mostly the western sector of the country, but the rest of the country will still hang on to chances of some light isolated rainfall. Now, because of this kind of weather, we do expect temperatures to be relatively high. That will be across Kasese at 32 degrees centigrade, 30 in the northern, whereas in the nation's capital, Kampala, we are expecting 27 degrees centigrade, and in Kabale Highlands at 25 degrees centigrade. If you're expecting to travel, Dubai is expected to have sunny intervals at a daytime high, well at 42 degrees centigrade. For New York at 30, and we do expect London to have chances of rainfall at a daytime high of 21 degrees centigrade. With that, we wrap it up. Stay tuned and join us again tomorrow, same time. I remain Semper Alex Kim.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial star 149 star 10 hash to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers